Chow time. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. This is Bruni Does number 3. Today we're going to be talking about running backs and wide receivers inside rounds 5 through 8. Really excited to shoot another video today. I put up some articles about these exact guys, these 10 guys I'm going to be covering. 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers. Let's just jump right into it here. I'll have some updates at the end of the video about some things that I'm working on for potential blog articles, website, and etc. So excited. Let's get going. My 5 wide receivers that I'm looking to grab in rounds 5 through 8, at least that I'm targeting the majority of, I want to get a lot of shares of. I'm looking at Larry Fitzgerald, Corey Davis, Geronimo Allison, Curtis Samuel, and Sterling Shepard, right? So let's start off with Corey Davis. With Corey Davis, I really like all the weapons that Tennessee has added in the wide receiver room, bringing in Adam Humphries from Tampa, bringing in A.J. Brown through the draft. You still have guys like Tajay Sharp and Taywan Taylor there. They're going to provide you, a pretty reliable mix of wide receivers, kind of dueling it out and battling it out for that third wide receiver spot. I do look for some consistency in Adam Humphries, in Corey Davis every week. But I look at Davis to be the big benefactor of this really strong wide receiver room. I think that he's going to have more opportunities on the field. He'll draw less coverage, less number one coverage. There won't be as many schemes like trying to stop the one good wide receiver on their squad. I'm not really concerned about the quarterback situation. You have Mariota there, you have Tannehill. We're not seeing a ton of comfort from Mariota right now, right? We're not seeing him making all the throws. We're seeing some hesitations, some inconsistencies. There isn't the greatest amount of hype around him in camp. I have heard some good things about Ryan Tannehill, so it really seems like whoever's there is going to be able to get the ball out to this group of receivers. As far as the running game goes, we heard all offseason that the Titans were just going to run the ball. But now Derrick Henry's banged up. You have Dion Lewis back there. You have this strong wide receiver group. You have Delaney Walker coming back. All signs to me point like they should be passing the ball more. So I look for Corey Davis to increase his pass catching efficiency. Last year he had 65 catches on 112 targets, pretty similar to Larry Fitzgerald, who I'm going to get to in a second. He had 891 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. Not super impressive numbers, but if you're looking for these numbers to improve, I don't see why they wouldn't, and I think that they will. So I'm looking forward to the Titans this year. We've heard run. I think when they come out of the gate, they may have to pass. So we'll see what happens there. Look for Corey Davis in the 5th round. I will pull the trigger on him there, absolutely. I don't think I'll pull him into the 4th round. I really like Corey Davis as my 3rd wide receiver or my bench wide receiver, like my first wide receiver off the bench. I'll feel really good about the wide receiver depth I have if I have Corey Davis as my first guy off the bench. So look for him in that 5th round. Next guy I have is Larry Fitzgerald. He had 69 catches last season, 112 targets, very similar to Corey Davis. He had only 734 yards, though, 734, not a ton of yardage there. I look for all of these numbers to go up. I think his targets are going to go up. I think Kyler will have to lean on him, especially when the offensive line does play poorly, like it did last night in the preseason game. Kyler Murray went 3 for 8, 12 passing yards. I mean, those are just stupid, dumb, low numbers, right? Obviously, we didn't see the full measure of him. The offensive line was super bad. Played out of the shotgun a ton. Obviously, they are going to do that this year. But I just, I want this to happen now. If I'm going to have to watch a performance like that, I do want it to happen in preseason. Kind of have Arizona go through the motions, go through this process of improving the offensive line, improving the playbook, and really putting these guys in positions to win every week, right? So I look at Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson to be huge benefactors of the new system there, that new spread offense. It should give Larry a ton of space, a lot of opportunity to settle into zones and to take advantage of mismatches on one-on-one coverage. So another guy that I'm looking at, maybe the 6, 7, 8 mark, because people are lower on him. I'm loving the preseason game last night because of the fact that people are going to bring the Arizona guys back down their board. I've already heard people saying we have to take David Johnson out of our top 5 and things like that. So thank you, all of you. I appreciate that. Everyone reacts to everything very quickly in the NFL, especially when it comes to fantasy. But you want to tread lightly. You want to look at things at a total spectrum. So I'm still really positive about Arizona and the opportunities they can bring this year. The next guy I have is Curtis Samuel. Now, when I wrote my article the other day, there wasn't as much hype about Curtis Samuel. There was a lot of good things being said about him, but And man, in the past day or so, I've just heard a ton of hype. Curtis Samuel being uncoverable in practice. Making ooh and ah play. Every other day on the practice field. Being the guy that's going to be going 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 rounds later than DJ Moore. I want all of Curtis Samuel that I can get because at the end of last year he was a big target in the offense. They were going to him. He had a couple of games where he was over 10 targets. So his usability, I kind of see like baby Tyreek Hill. Maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic, but the way that offense works, they're very aggressive, they're very fast, and if they have a deep threat like Curtis Samuel blazing down the field, I've seen Cam Newton throw in training camp. His shoulder looks fine. His throws look great, especially his deep ball. I don't know if I've ever seen Cam Newton's deep ball look as good as it has in this training camp and in these practices. So I want every share of Curtis Samuel I can get. I will move him up my charts, my rankings here on my next update for certain. I'm going to be grabbing all the shares I can of him. So next guy I'm looking at is Geronimo Allison. A lot of people are wondering who's going to be that secondary pass catching option behind Devontae Adams in Green Bay. I think I might put some chips on Geronimo Allison. I was a very big advocate of MVS last year, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Big advocate of him. He had a great connection with Rodgers, but Allison really had a great connection as well with him to start out the year, and then MVS, towards the end. And to be clear, MVS did fizz out some towards the end of the year. He started building some inconsistencies, and the ball was getting spread out a lot more. But in the first 4 games for Geronimo Allison, this is pretty surprising. I didn't actually know this. I didn't have any shares of Geronimo early on last year. But he had 2 receiving touchdowns. He had 11 targets in week 4, 4 targets in week 3, 6 in week 2, 8 in week 1. Had over 60 yards in every one of these games, 69 yards week 1, 64 week 2, 76 week 3, and 80 yards week 4. I mean, these are really good numbers for a secondary guy for what you're looking at from what's available for the Packers. I'm not really 100% on Allison. I'm liking him more because he's coming out of the slot. I do see opportunities for MVS because he is working very well outside the numbers. It's just that Aaron Rodgers passes so well to the slot. He has like 117 passer rating throwing to the slot. He's already shown this connection with Allison. Allison's been there another year on top of MVS, so I like Geronimo's upside just a little bit more, but they're pretty split to me. If you see someone take MVS, you're going to want to look to take Allison not that far behind, and vice versa. If you see Allison go, you're probably going to want to target MVS not that far behind, right? So they're going in the same spot. I feel pretty comfortable of taking him anywhere in the seventh or eighth round. I think before that you're prioritizing him a little bit too much. Maybe something the rest of us don't, but I think the 7th or 8th round is a pretty healthy target for him. I've seen him go even deeper than that. So if you don't see either Packers receiver go by the 8th round, feel perfectly comfortable taking either one in the 9th round. I'm leaning towards Allison, a little bit more of a connection there, going to be playing out of the slot, and just overall, the numbers that he did produce were a little bit more impressive to me than what MVS put up. MVS really needed like a big shot here and there, or needed that scoring play to make his week. So, I'm looking for Allison to be that guy. If I'm wrong, okay, that's not too big a deal to me. They're kind of a split, pretty even to like a Moncrief, James Washington type of situation with the Steelers. Same situation there. You see one guy go, you're going to follow with the other guy not too far behind. But I would feel comfortable pulling the trigger on Allison in the 7th or 8th. Last wide receiver I have in this group, I'm looking at Sterling Shepard. A lot of people are low on him right now because of the thumb injury, right? Hurt his thumb, broken thumb. Looks like he's going to be back for week 1. If he's not back for week 1, week 2, week 3, that's okay. For the value that I'm getting him this late for a wide receiver 1 that really has no other targets other than Saquon Barkley and Evan Ingram, running back and tight end position, I like that value. Sterling Shepard last season. Oh, sorry, I got his game log pulled up here. Last season, he was at, again, look at this, 66 catches, 107 targets. The last 3 guys, or not last 3 guys, but Davis, Fitzgerald, and now Sterling Shepard, kind of in that range where last year they were in that 60 catch mark, had over 100 targets, but the situation just wasn't right. Okay, so these are guys in this space that I look to climb back into those top wide receiver 2 ranges, or maybe even flirt with the wide receiver 1 range. So 66 catches, 107 targets, 872 receiving yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. Looking for these numbers to go up. Looking for Sterling Shepard to be in that mid-80 catch range, similar to like a Davis or a Samuel, right? Look for him to be in that mid-80 catch range, maybe with just over 100 targets, maybe even more than that. I'm just not sure, because I do believe that the Giants are going to have to go run heavy if the offensive line is improved, and they have the ability to do that, and they can run the ball a lot. I think that they will. Again, if the offensive line is improved, that will help Sterling out more. Dan Jones back there, Eli back there, doesn't really matter. I'm looking for Eli to stay with the starting job unless he just does enough to lose the job. And Dan Jones, I think, has shown us enough that he's accurate, throws a decent ball, right? Throws a pretty strong ball. So I'm pretty comfortable with any of the top passing options there. Barkley, Ingram, of course, Shepard. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling him closer to the back end of the 5 to 8, looking for him to be end of the 7th, beginning of the 8th. People will bring him up their boards for certain as we get closer to draft day, because more news will come out about his availability. Things have been pretty positive, honestly, since he got this injury, that he was going to be back early. He wasn't going to miss a ton of time. People are panicking in New York because of the Golden Tate situation. He is going to be gone for 4 games, so you have some issues there. But when Golden Tate comes back, I think even Sterling Shepard's value goes even higher, because he won't be drawing significant coverage. Teams will have less options to cover him and to shadow him. So even if that's even going on, right? I mean, Barkley's the guy there. He's the one that's going to be eating so much. So I like Shepard a lot, but you do take it with a grain of salt that the running game is the focus there. I should note on that about Curtis Samuel as well, right? CMC, Christian McCaffrey, he is going to do work for the Panthers. He is going to catch a lot of balls. I just see Curtis Samuel as having a pretty steady floor. So again, Larry Fitzgerald, Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Geronimo Allison, Sterling Shepard, rounds 5 through 8. Feel super comfortable taking any of them in that range. If I can get Fitzgerald, Davis, Samuel closer to the back end of closer to rounds 8 or 9, I will feel so good. My team's going to look great if I do, because I'm taking guys that I have even higher ceilings ahead of them. People are going to have to be passing on some of those bigger guys for me to get some of these guys deeper, closer to rounds 8 through 10, but super confident taking rounds 5 through 8. Go get them. Can't change my mind. I don't know what's going to change yours, but look out for these wide receivers. Let's roll on to running backs now. The 5 running backs that I'm targeting in rounds 5 through 8 are Chris Carson, Tariq Cohen, Austin Eckler, Latavius Murray, and Lamar Miller. So starting off with Chris Carson, who I'm really high on. He's leading the way there in Seattle in that backfield, having an amazing camp. There's so much talk about him, all the work that he's going to get. Seattle's talking about using him 2/3 of the time in the rushing game, him getting enough pass catching volume to eclipse 50 catches. He had a super strong finish to last season, averaging 105 yards per game in his last 7 games of the year after a Week 10 absence. He played 14 games. He did miss 2 of them, weeks 4 and 10. But like I just said, when he came back from week 10, he was a monster, guys. Just a monster, putting up huge numbers, helping people win leagues, win championships, make money. What's not to love about a guy like that, right? Well, it looks like all signs point to him having another great year. He had almost 250 carries last season, 247 on 14 games. Could see him easily hitting the 300 mark if they need him in some big games or need him to ground and pound consistently. I'm not really sure where the consistencies are going to come in the passing game. I know that it will be consistent because Russell Wilson is the quarterback. However, you have guys there like Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jaron Brown, David Moore, Nick Vannett, Will Disley, both tight ends. So I see the ball in the passing game getting mixed around week to week. I do believe Tyler Lockett will provide somewhat of a steady floor at the wide receiver position, but I think that Chris Carson is the guy to have in this offense other than Russell Wilson. You know, there was some questions coming into this camp that Penny could overtake the position, as long as he shows out. Penny's doing well, but he's not doing as well as Chris Carson, and he didn't have the type of finish to last year's season like Chris Carson did. So there's a lot of hype around him. I'm super comfortable taking him in the 5th round. I will take Chris Carson in the 4th round, no problem. I'll take him as my running back 2. If I, for some reason, deprioritize running backs through rounds 2 and 3, right? If I find some really good wide receivers I want to grab in rounds 2 and 3, I can do so and feel safe that Chris Carson is going to be there as a potential bell cow back available in the 4th or 5th round. Sign me up. I'll take him all day, twice on Tuesdays, no problem. Okay, go get him. Run heavy offense. You have a quarterback there in Russell Wilson who is mobile, can rush the ball. That increases the efficiencies for running backs across all spectrums. That's why a guy like Lamar Jackson was able to come in last year and improve the efficiency of the Ravens offense, because he did more with not so much, right? He did a lot with a little. He didn't have to throw a lot. He would run the ball. They would be efficient. It's kind of the same scenario here, although Russell Wilson is a more competent passing quarterback, so he's going to be passing still a bunch, and you are going to see Chris Carson run the ball a lot. So I'm really excited about that part of the offense, their run game, what Russell Wilson can do in the run game, and even what Chris Carson can do. Next, I have Tariq Cohen, Mr. Human Joystick. There's nothing this guy can't do. Last year, he ran, received, returned, and passed for at least 1 touchdown. Where does that happen other than a video game? Okay, I think maybe Barry Sanders or Gale Sayers has done that before. I'm not sure. I really don't know what type of running back is doing that in the NFL today. Just ridiculous type of production. Tyreek Hill had kind of a similar stat line, but I don't believe he was able to finish the passing touchdown. They did give him an attempt, but I believe he threw an interception on that play. Actually, I had him last year. Pretty sure he threw an interception in the red zone. But where else are you going to get that type of production? This guy is a home run hitter anytime he's on the field and anywhere he's on the field. Whether he's returning a punt or a kick or rushing or going out into the flat to catch a pass, or he's passing the ball to somebody. It's just ridiculous. Go out and get him wherever you can. Super strong flex play. I wouldn't feel the most comfortable if I'm going into the season and he's my running back 2 or my running back 1 for some reason. If you got really risky and took all the wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks before the 5th or 6th round, whatever. I feel very safe with him, starting him as a flex player. There might be some weeks where you put him away, you put him on the bench, but I think those are far and few between. Last year he had just under 200 touches, so he had 99 rushing attempts and 91 targets, so just under 100 for each. 444 rushing yards and 724 receiving yards. Can easily see him getting the 200 touch mark, getting over 1,100 yards, all-purpose, of course. The touchdowns are a bit of a concern. Last year he had 3 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns, 8 total, plus another 3 because he had 2 returns and 1 passing. So he had 11 total touchdowns. I can see that coming down some because of the emergence of David Montgomery and Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a legitimate pass-catching running back. He can eat up some of that role if they need Tariq Cohen to go out and be a decoy or just do something else on a play or sit on the sidelines. I don't know why he would be, but you need some rest as a running back. So Mike Davis, he can catch the ball. David Montgomery can eat at the Jordan Howard role. He is definitely heir apparent to the Jordan Howard role as far as being that inside zone running back. But he can catch the ball too. Every one of these running backs can catch the ball, which is really exciting for Mitchell Trubisky and their offense because there are times where Mitch he stalls. He can't get the ball out. The offensive line can struggle still here and there. So I like having all 3 of those guys back there. I think Tariq Cohen will eat a bunch because he has been with the team for a couple years now. He knows the system the best over Montgomery and over Davis and has the most comfortability in the scheme and in the offense. So I look for him to have a strong season. I just think that the touchdowns could come down a little bit. Easily go grab him in the 5th. Anything past that, I consider it a steal, but that's me. David Montgomery will also go close by. If you see David Montgomery go, Tariq Cohen's going to go close by, similar to what I was mentioning about the receivers with like Moncrief and Washington and stuff like that. So next guy I have is Austin Eckler, kind of a similar situation with him. I like taking like an Eckler-Jackson combination, like back-to-back on some turns perhaps. But Eckler, I believe, has a ton of standalone value this season, even if the Melvin Gordon situation remedies itself. So last year, Eckler had 554 rushing yards and 404 receiving yards, 53 targets and 106 rushing attempts. a lot to like there. A lot to like. He seemed to have a ton of efficiency with that offense, working behind Gordon as the pass catching back, still getting a healthy amount of touches. I do like Jackson. I think that Jackson is a strong first and second down runner, and the Chargers have said as much that they will split 50-50, the workload if Gordon is not there. But I like Eckler's upside more because of the PPR format, of course. He should catch more balls than Jackson, and he just has that a little bit more of an explosive edge to me over Jackson. Looking at Eckler running out into the flat, running receiving routes, I like him a lot more. I think he has more upside, and if they can't really establish the run game, if for some reason the O-line is still struggling out of camp, maybe Keenan Allen's hurt still, I think he'll be fine, but maybe they just get into a situation where the running game is getting stalled, it's not being efficient, they're not moving the chains. I think Eckler is a guy that will get leaned on in the passing game for some big chunk plays, so has a bunch of standalone value. If Gordon comes back, you're obviously going to pull him back down the board. But if Gordon's gone, Labor Day weekend, if he's gone right there before the start of the season, while we're all doing the majority of our drafts, you got to have some priority to Eckler. I have no problem moving him into the 6th round. It's just that, as I mentioned, I really like the idea of taking Eckler and Jackson if I'm on a turn, say 7 or 8 or 8 or 9 more preferably, because Jackson is still a little bit farther down the draft board. Doing a situation like that or using a strategy like that, you are pulling Jackson up the board a bit. But as I mentioned with these other guys, where they're going in the same spots or they'll go a little bit farther away, like 7 to 8 picks, like the wide receivers I had mentioned, the David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, you may just want to do that. You may just want to grab Jackson because if you want both of them, and if that's a part of your strategy, like I just mentioned, then you may not have that that option. Someone may just take Jackson 7 picks after you take Eckler, or 5 picks after you take Eckler. Oh, Eckler went, I'm taking Jackson right now. So standalone value for Eckler all year long. Looking for him to have another strong year. Definitely think he cracks 1,000 yards. It's really unsure on the touches, right? I don't know how any of us would be able to project his type of workload with all the questions that are there. I just think that he's a strong piece in that offense, and I think he'll get leaned on some during the year. Like I said, when they get into trouble, O-line stalls, any type of those situations, Gordon does get hurt. A really good handcuff to have, so really like him this year. Latavius Murray, a lot of value with him this year, coming back into the Saints offense, or moving over to the Saints offense, not coming back to, sorry. I'm going to pull up Mark Ingram numbers really quick because those are important. But Latavius Murray last season, he had 140 rushes, 578 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. The guys had at least 5 rushing touchdowns in, 4 of the last seasons. That's very consistent. That's definitely some value that you want to go out and get. But it's really important to understand how Mark Ingram was used in the offense for the Saints last year, right? So he had 138 carries on 12 games, and the year before that he had 230 carries on 16 games. That's a ton of usage. The Saints run the ball a lot. Their goal is to protect Breeze, protect Kamara, I guess protect Thomas somewhat. I mean, Thomas still gets a ton of targets, but there are some weeks I mentioned in previous videos, or my first video about top wide receivers, where Thomas can go away because the offense is mainly focused around the run. The majority of the time they're going to be running the ball. And Latavius Murray is going to benefit from that. So he is going to get definitely, I'm assuming 150 touches at least as the backup. Latavius Murray, who's a career average of 4 yards per carry, that's pretty good. I like that production. He has not been a guy that traditionally catches the ball out of the backfield, but the Saints and even himself have said as much that will be required of him. He will be catching the ball because they're going to need him to catch the ball. I do like all the weapons that are there. Obviously, you have Kamara ahead of him. Latavius Murray technically is still a handcuff to Kamara, but he has true standalone value as well. He is going to get used in this offense. I can easily see him getting 6 to 8 touchdowns this year, a combination of rushing and receiving. He has a very strong knack in the red zone, a great ability to finish on the lines. I could see them using him somewhat in goal line packages, but I just think they'll do that for the sake of variety, right? They use Kamara, they used Ingram. They use Kamara, they use Ingram. They just go back and forth. To me, it didn't seem like, okay, we have to have Kamara in this situation, we have to have Ingram in this situation, unless it was probably like, a design play for a flat pass out to Kamara or something like that, or a design play to get Kamara out in space. I just think they go out there and they let Breeze analyze everything, break it all down, and then he just audibles or changes it up to the best play. When you have all those types of options with those two running backs, a solid wide receiver in Mike Thomas and a reliable tight end in Jared Cook, they're going to have a lot of options on every play. So if the defense comes out and they're bringing blitz, well, that's not a good idea to show that to Drew Brees. If they're leaning back and it looks like they're going to be sitting back in zone, well, that's not going to be so good for handing the ball off to Murray or Kamara. So I love all the opportunities with the Saints offense. Murray coming in is a great fit for him, in my opinion. He's still super athletic. Still under 30 years old. I know he's been in the league for a long time, but he's 29 years old, so still got some young legs under him. Go out and get him if you can. Where is he going here? I want to say still like in the 7th or 8th round. Where are you, sir? Where are you, sir? You ever drink a Red Bull? Just tastes like Jaeger. Ever happen to you? No? Go get him in rounds 6, 7, or 8, whatever you can do to go out and grab him. Tons of opportunity on the Saints offense. I love everything that he has available there for him. If Kamara does go down, I mean, he could potentially be one of the best backs in the league. A couple of years ago, Ingram and Kamara were both inside the top 10 for running back scoring, where I don't believe that Murray has that type of ceiling. I don't think we're going to see a situation like that develop again. It's just great to see, right? It's just great to see that opportunity that they will use the backup running back like that consistently, and that he should have standalone week-to-week value, right? So that's enough bickering about Latavius Murray. Sorry for the long pause there. Moving on to Lamar Sucks Miller. I had a really hard time putting this into writing and then having the words for it, but it's just really simple. Guys, Lamar Miller, yes, he sucks. He passes like no eye test ever, right? Unless he's just breaking down the sideline wide open for like a 90-yard plus or 90-plus yard run, right? So it seems a little boring because of when you watch him, he doesn't seem like he's that great a player. He doesn't rush for a ton of yardage, but he gets the ball fed to him. That's it. That's just the simple, inconvenient truth of the matter. He gets the ball fed to him. Last year, 210 carries. The year before that, 238. The year before that, 268. Year before that, 194. Year before that, 216. They're just going to ride him until the rails fall off, guys. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last season, 3 the year before that, and 5 the year before that. Not going to get a ton of rushing touchdowns. Not going to get a ton of catches. 25 catches last year, 36 catches the year before that. You're asking yourself, Justin, why the hell are you talking about this guy still? You're saying that he's not good. Well, in fantasy football, you don't have to be great. You just need to rack up the numbers, okay? A guy last year, Eric Ebron, didn't need to be on the field the whole time to score touchdowns. 66 catches, 13 touchdowns. Ridiculous numbers, right? Not the same scenario here, obviously, but it's kind of in the flip that he's on the field all the time, doesn't do a ton, but he's there all the time. He only played in 14 games last season on those 210 carries. The season before that, he was at 238 carries for 16 games. I can easily see him getting 225 carries, 210, I guess, the same as last year. Just under 1,000 yards, 900 to 1,000 yards, 4 to 6 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, you have Watson there that can eat into the rushing touchdowns. Watson had 5 last year. You got a guy coming in with Duke Johnson that isn't going to steal first and second down touches. He'll be the legitimate third down back on that team, and for good reason. He'll be an asset for sure. But I still see Lamar Miller getting a ton of work, and you're getting him in the 8th round, the 9th round, the 10th round every time. If you're getting Lamar Miller in the 10th round, that's free. That's free. F-R-E-E, free. That's free. That's it. That's just what that is. Like, that's zero risk. Oh no, I took Lamar Miller. He didn't do anything. He sucked all year. Boo-hoo, you took him in the 10th round, okay? For me, really, around 11 and later, there's really no risk. I don't want to call all those rounds free rounds, but there's really no risk. If you miss on those guys, the waiver wire guys are going to be just as good or providing you the same type of value where you would have drafted them at that spot anyway. So, as things roll out, you'll get more information, more stats on the guys off of waiver wire if you get into a situation where you listen to me and Lamar Miller sucks. But he has this nickname for a reason. The eye test is not there. He devalues the eye test in general. Just not a great football player visually. Power runner, gets a ton of carries, runs through the pile, falls down. Go get him, guys. Lamar Miller sucks. All right, guys, that's another show. I really appreciate you stopping back in to visit with me and soak up all my valuable and helpful fantasy football information. I'll be back out with another episode come Monday, and I'll be rolling some more articles out, setting up the Facebook page, YouTube page, take it to the hizzy, fantasy football. Look out for that. I'm sure most of you will probably get some type of like Facebook or Twitter invite, so you can come check me out, support the page, show some love. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Ask me questions, and just get ready for fantasy football, guys. We're 20 days away. I'm really excited. Any questions for me, you can always reach out to me through Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just shoot me a quick message, and I'll be more than happy to help, okay? No fee, no charge, I swear. I'm not doing anyone's drafts just yet. If you want me to draft your team for you, that's going to cost some cheddar. You can hit me up anytime for any type of mock draft information if you want to get any of this stuff on the side. So I'm here for you. Let me know if you need anything. I'll see you next time. And thanks again for stopping by, guys. Really appreciate all the love.